Okay, we're back down into the garage now with the little Power King tractor. And the first thing that I looked at was the fuel bowl right there, the sediment bowl. So how this actually works is this actually works as the fuel filter for this tractor. There's a valve right here that turns the fuel on from the tank, and then it goes down into this bowl, and any dirt and any sediment that is in the fuel actually settles into the bottom of this bowl, and then the fuel goes up out the other side right here and goes down to the carburetor. This just helps keep all of the heavy, really nasty stuff out of it, and it actually makes for a pretty simple and reusable filter that you can just clean and keep using over and over again. So the one problem that I did run into, those are pieces of the gasket that was at the top of the sediment bowl. And what I did was actually went down to the local parts store. They didn't actually have the gasket per se, but I bought a roll of cork rubber gasket material and cut it out to the same outside diameter and more or less the same inside diameter as the original one. And then I removed this screw right here and took the bowl off, took off the old dried out cracked gasket, put the new one back into it, put it back together, turn the fuel back on, and everything is good. So the next thing that we're going to be doing, I'm just going to grab my tools here. The next thing that we're going to be doing is an oil change. It's been a while since this tractor has been run much. So this oil drain on this isn't really located in the greatest of spots. And rather than have it dump it out like that and have it run all over the frame, I just took a piece of cardboard and bent it like that. And now I'm just going to take my 1/2-inch wrench, loosen up the plug, making sure that my drain bucket is underneath it. I might still end up with a little bit on the frame, but I'm going to be pressure washing it afterwards, so it's not the end of the world. And most of it's going down on the cardboard. Some of it's still going over the frame, but like I said, I will be washing this tractor after this, so it's really not the end of the world. One of these days I'm just going to extend the threads on that drain so that it actually, appears my cardboard didn't do as well as I had hoped it would. More often than not that works, but it's still all going into the drain bucket. And underneath my drain bucket I actually have an oil absorbent mat that in case anything else did go over. Now this engine doesn't have any type of an oil filter or anything like that. And the reason why I'm doing the oil change right now is I had just run this tractor, so this engine is still relatively warm and the oil is relatively warm, and the advantage to that is it allows all of the it allows more of the oil to actually come out that way, and all the dirt is still, any dirt that's in the oil is still suspended in it. So that's the reason why we're doing the oil change right now while the engine is still warm. After that, we're going to be looking at the two transmissions, which are actually both the same transmission, but it gives you a lot wider range of gears. We're also going to be looking at the rear differential, and we're going to be checking the fluids on all of those, as well as doing some general preventive maintenance, greasing some of the steering components and things like that. At this point, I've let the oil drip to the point where it was just a slow drip coming out, and I'm using this. I'm using 30 weight engine oil in this particular tractor. In different machines, you run different weights of oil, and we'll get into what all the different numbers mean as far as engine oil weights and viscosities and all those types of things in a later video. Right now I'm just kind of introducing you to a little bit of basic maintenance. So I put this pour spout on this bottle just to make it a little bit neater. I already made enough of a mess out of draining it. These spouts actually just screw right onto the end of a regular quart bottle, and they're available at most auto parts stores. Mine actually came from Tractor Supply. I'm not really trying to endorse any products or anything like that, but it is a pretty handy little accessory to have. And with this one, all we have to do is fill it back up to where it is visible through the plug. So it's taken already 1 quart of oil, and it'll take just a little bit more. I'm not going to do that right now, but it will be, you'll be able to see the oil right up in the top. If I look down just a little bit, it's only about maybe half an inch down from the top right now. So it's pretty close to full. I'm just going to leave it that way for now. I'm going to leave the cap off of it so that right now I know that I'll remember that I still need to top it off. But I want to get to some of the other things that we're going to be looking at. So I'm just going to slide my oil bucket over to our first transmission, and on the side of these transmissions there is a fill plug, which is located right here, and there's also a drain plug, which is located in the bottom. And what we actually do is we take the fill plug out, and when we take that out, if oil comes out of it or is reachable just inside of it, then we would consider that to be okay and ready to use. This one right now, I can see that there is no oil coming out of it. So I reach down inside of it, and that one is just a little bit below the threads. So I might add just a little bit to it. I'm going to go to the back transmission, which is a little bit more visible. Loosen the fill plug. Again, the drain plugs are in the bottom. And check our fluid level. That one is full and coming out the side of it. So I don't need to do anything with that one. Next, I'll be moving my bucket backwards. And checking the rear differential on this tractor. Now, this is the fill plug and check plug. And for that, we'll need a 5/8 wrench, which I happen to have right here. We get that on there and loosen it up. And we check the differential the same way that we would check our transmission. So we took that cover off, and again, we can see oil is coming out of it when we check it. So we know that it's nice and full and ready to go as well. One other thing to always check on any differential like this, just putting the cap back on, the plug back in. Right up on top right here, this is actually what's called a breather. And what this does is it allows air to escape so it doesn't build up pressure inside of the differential housing as the gears are turning and churning up the oil. So all you do is take that and just move it around, turn it back and forth a little bit, and make sure that's moving nice and freely. What that actually is just a cap over the top of it that sits loosely, and those will on occasion pack up with dirt and grease and things like that, and gear oil as well. I've got my gear oil to add to the front transmission, and gear oil has typically a spout like this, so we will put that into the fill hole, and again add until fluid starts to come out a little bit. At that point, we put the fill plug back in. And tighten that up. Now that we've got that drain plug, that fill plug back in, we're going to be greasing the front end. So on all of the steering components, there are grease fittings. Grease fittings look like that. They almost look like a little miniature trailer hitch ball. So we push the grease gun onto the fitting. This is what our grease gun looks like. We push it onto each individual fitting and give it probably 2 or 3 pumps is about enough. You don't need to do it to where grease starts coming out of the sides of everything. All that does is just causes more dirt to stick to it. So we're going to go around to the front, and we're doing what are called the kingpins on the end of the front axles. I'm going to finish back up where I started and just finish off topping off the oil now. So this engine is big enough to where it takes more than 1 quart of oil. Many of your small engines won't, but some will. This was among more of the industrial type engines. This tractor would have been considered a garden tractor. The difference between a garden tractor and a lawn tractor is this one's actually capable of doing a lot of other things, such as plowing, harrowing, in addition to just the mowing that a typical lawn tractor would do. So now we can see our oil is full right up to the top. So we'll put our check plug back into there. Right up above it, this is where the ignition system is on this tractor. This is an older system. They actually still used breaker points ignition. We'll talk about that later on. I'm not going to get too far into that. This is the carburetor right here. So this is what mixes air and fuel and actually makes the engine run. Obviously the muffler right above it. Now, seemingly, all of these components all seem to be good, considering how easily it started, especially after sitting that long, and the fact that I didn't see any fuel pouring out of the carburetor or anything like that. So, what we've basically done is just kind of done a very basic general once-over on this tractor and got it ready for what it's going to be doing this weekend. Obviously, there's a lot more we could do on it, and maybe we will get back to it sometime in the near future. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching.